Hello, believers in Christ. I am Reverend Father Mario Francis Umar, the priest in charge of Blessed Tansi, Pyakasa, a pastoral area. Welcome to my parish and I. There is a church here in Pyakasa, and the name of this church is called Blessed Tansi. You can behold a beautiful church. It is a place of the presence of God, where we come to worship God in truth and in spirit. As you come to worship with us anytime at Blessed Tansi, your life will never remain the same. The Catholic Church is holistic. The training of a priest in the seminary has 4 factors or 4 dimensions of formation. We have what we call the intellectual formation. We have what we call the spiritual formation. We have what we call the pastoral formation. And we have what we call the human formation. As it concerns the human formation, it behoves on the priest, of a Catholic priest, to relate with people, Christian and non-Christians alike, in the neighborhood where he lives. And so I, as a priest in charge of Blessed Tansi, I have a cordial relationship with the natives here in Pyakasa. I also have a cordial relationship with other clergymen who are not other clergymen around. And I also have a cordial relationship with the Muslims, those from the other faith. Here in Pyakasa, you could see my neighbor here, my very neighbor is a Muslim. And you can behold a mosque there. There is a mosque over there, and it is not just a weekly mosque. It is a Juma mosque. So it's a very big mosque. So we have cordial relationship with the Imam.
The main thing, like in the situation we have in Nigeria, you cannot easily call ambulance to come to your home and take you to the hospital. So as a Catholic and a sick person, first of all, you are supposed to know the best place to take that person. Because sometimes there is wastage of time going to hospital that is not equipped enough to take care of that emergency, if it's a severe emergency. Because that's why you go to some place, they say refer, and there's no time for all those to waste in such a situation. You understand? But if it's something that is not an emergency, you may visit your nearby hospital, you can be taken care of. But in acute emergency, you should have a facility that is equipped enough to take care of such cases, especially if you have any big general hospital or tertiary institution nearby, or a specialist private hospital. But for other cases, like mild cases like simple malaria, a woman in labor, the small primary health care within the vicinity can take care of that. So the main thing is to know the severity of the illness.
As a member of a CW, we participate actively in the life of the church. We do have our meeting every first Saturday of the month, and during this time we help each other to grow, especially even the poor among us. We make sure that we help every individual. Whenever anybody is in need, we rarely run to help the person. And also, we also support the church and support the priests. We make sure we feed the priests monthly. Apart from that, even individual, we do feed the priest. That's part of our evangelization. And we also have our prayer meeting, because prayer is very important in the life of a Christian. Every month we have what we call prayer rain. The CWO come together to pray for their husband, to pray for the children, to pray for the church in general. We do that every month as part of our evangelization.
As it concerns security and property around Blessed Tansi, Pyakasa, in particular, I am safe as a priest. But as a priest in charge of people in Pyakasa, my parishioners, esteemed parishioners of Blessed Tansi, we have some threats of insecurity around us, because the mother parish or the neighboring parish called Keti has been facing some security challenges. Last week, the chief of Katy was killed and many others were kidnapped. But thank God for the intervention of the vigilante and soldiers who came to the rescue of some and were able to apprehend 8 kidnappers, 4 Fulanis, 4 indigenes who are part of it. So being our neighboring village, we are threatened because I am sure that some of my people are not safe. Some of my people are not sleeping well. And to come to church in the evening, it seemed threatening because of the insecurity that happened around them. Else, the security around Blessed Tansi Pyakasa is moderately okay.
As a doctor, St. Luke himself is a doctor. So, and he did not stop practicing because he became a follower of Christ. So Christ has given us the knowledge to help get better. And the Bible says, my people die for lack of knowledge. So if there's the knowledge that is available to tap in to get better and to succeed in life, it's better to use it than to say, wait, have the faith. It's good to have faith, but when you are praying, pray also and be taking the drugs. But to abandon drug altogether is not wisdom from our own medical perspective, and even as a Christian, because I believe that it's not a complete theology to just say, okay, I will not take drug, that my sign of that taking a drug is like being faithless, because that's what those people believe. That when they take the drug, it's like they are acting out of faithlessness. You understand? But in faith, you can take your drug, pray over your drug, and take it. You understand? Even though God has power to do all things, but on our own side, I think we have to also tread with caution so that we don't die from avoidable death.
No, as a member of Knights of St. John, the church, this church is still new. We don't have the society here in the pastoral center. Though I belong to the society outside this church. So because of that, we have not really built up the Knights of St. John in this place. But I know with time, we are going to build up the Knights of St. John because this church is still new and growing.
You know, when we talk about being born again is not a physical transformation. It's a spiritual rebirth, a radical turnaround. It's a continuous process. It's a project. And so, spiritual growth journey is something that is continuous. That's why sometimes when I'm talking with people and I ask them, how are you doing? And they say they are fine. Sometimes I say no. At least physically you can be fine, but spiritually you keep struggling. So in that context, apart from the homilies, don't forget God speaks to us in different ways. He speaks, if he can speak to a Muslim, any other person can speak to you. But apart from that, we have the scripture, which is number one priority as Christians. If you continually read your scriptures, you see God speaking to you directly, even without the priest. Apart from that, we'll have sacraments, even within the context of the church. These are powerful ways that God speaks to us. Sometimes, even as a priest, after receiving communion, I still meditatively, and there are some, I don't know, it happens to me, I don't know about others, but you see God whispering or speaking to you. There are some issues that you may not be able to resolve before that particular time, but reception of communion gives you that opportunity that you see yourself going to think about those things that you were not able to solve before that particular time. So I think in various ways, through our family members, God can use them, through our encounter, through our relationship, and through other means.
The solution I can proffer for either eradication or to minimize the insecurity threats around this environment. Number one, both the religious leaders, the traditional leaders, and the politicians around, we must work together. Number two, we must have a cordial rapport between the civil defense that are around here, the police that are around here, and the soldiers that are safeguarding the quarry that is here. And so as it regards armed forces, the securities and the police and the civil defense who are armed, they will be able to help us if you have cordial relationship. Once there is a signal of danger, we can call on them and we are sure of prompt action from the parties. Secondly, the traditional rulers must also talk to the people, these villagers, school the villagers on the security architecture, how an individual or a family ought to be vigilant, and to also observe once there is a threat or there is someone whose movement or parading around this vicinity is suspected, alarm should be raised so that the person can quickly be interrogated, and if found wanting, he should be arrested. And also, the clergymen must also sensitize people in the church on security consciousness within the church and outside the church, so that we will work together. By working together and ensure that there is a synergy between the church and also the traditional ruler, it will create a kind of a force that will be able to wage against insecurities, and by that, life and property will be safeguarded around this environment.
For over the 2 years I've been here, it's not been long I passed to this area. We came during COVID, and then there was no late. There has been no late for a long time here. So we are just inaugurated about 3 weeks ago. So we are still in the formative process, trying to get everything together. Next week we have a meeting with the whole parish societies, so to get to know each other, to discuss our common problems. Then from there we'll be able to itemize how to solve them. So it's a work in progress. So for now, we are just on the job.
Thank God, our priest, Father Francis Mario, is a great preacher and is a man that is endowed with the Spirit of God. And though personally, he has really impacted a lot in my life and also in the life of others, because he's a very spiritual man and also is a very generous man. You could see that even in our church, we do see different priests once in a while that comes to visit. But I believe that it's due to his big heart that makes other priests come. So we have variety of preaching every Sunday apart from himself. And he also do have adoration every first Friday of the month. And when you come here, both Catholics and non-Catholics, the church is filled up with people, and many have experienced the miracle of God. I am a living testimony. I'm terminally ill when he came here, but with God's goodness, since he has been praying with me almost 2 years now, I've not had any attack. I've been constant. I've never been one day not in the church, because for a while I can't even move. Even at the time, the doctor told me, you may be on a wheelchair, but through the prayer of our parish priest, who is so concerned about every single member, he knows the home of almost every member of this church. Except you are not a member, he knows everybody by name and even your home. So through that, I think God has done so much for me that I cannot tell how he has been doing it. How today I'm still walking, standing. Even if people sees me now, I don't think anybody will know that I'm sick. But God has been so good. Since he came here, I've seen a great difference. And he will always tell me whenever he calls me, probably maybe the day I'm not able to come, how are you? How are you feeling? I am always with you in prayer. Don't worry, God will do me. Just with that, I just get courage, and God has been so good. So he is a spiritual man, and I thank God for that. Though as young as he is gifted, and he has a big heart and a generous heart to all his parishioners.
As a priest who has been trained not only on the intellectual formation, I've been trained on pastoral formation. I have certain pastoral strategies, because pastoral formation has to deal with souls. It has to deal with spiritual growth, spiritual development, spiritual transformation, and to bring about what we call revival around the environment. And so some of the things or pastoral activities I have outlined in my church to rejig and to revive spiritual development and growth are certain activities. Number one, every month as a parish we have monthly adoration. Every first Friday of the month we gather to worship God. We gather to worship God. We gather to worship God through adoration. It is strictly adoration, so it is worship of God.
Anthony of Padua is a great saint, is my patron saint, and we do have our meeting every Tuesday in this church by 5 p.m. and we never miss it. St. Anthony also, is a wonder worker, and through the intercession of St. Anthony, I believe I was able to discover the lumps in my breast. Despite my fatness, even the doctors could not even discover it on time. It was the consultant himself, and I want to believe that it's through the intercession of St. Anthony that we're able to discover it on time and also fight it. And I thank God for my patron saint, St. Anthony of Padua, and I encourage many people to join such society whereby all you do is just to pray and pray and pray and know that God is always there to hear us.
Our parish priest is a tireless, committed priest. You understand? He came with a positive energy, and he has a way of pulling people together. So the church has been the church is very happy to have him around, because even in the spiritual aspect of it, we have First Friday adoration, which he hosts. He brings priests from all over the place. And as per the physical development of this church, just in these few years, I don't think he's up to even, he's just spent like 1 year. And in that 1 year, the parish house is almost complete. I think before the end of this year, that parish house will be completed. So he has been very, even though with the meager resources, he goes even out of Pyakasa here to get people to donate to move this church forward. And he also is a friend of the lowly of the society. Sometimes it's easy to be friend of the rich, but him is the friend of all. He takes this Pyakasa village that is here very personally, all the old people and all this. When he came newly, he was going house to house to visit the parish members in Pyakasa. So that's to tell you how seriously he takes his parish community. So he's a very hardworking priest, so we are very happy to have him.
The greatest challenges I am facing at Blessed Blessedtansi, number one, the land is a government land. This is a former science school that has been transferred to Maitama. And so where we are using was the former chapel for the YCSers, the young Catholic students. And so this land is not our own. That is a great challenge for us. And two, because it is a government property, I cannot carry out certain maintenance around this environment. Erosion is eating the church. I'm supposed to work on the erosion, but there are so many government bureaucracy. Before I can do anything or put a digger here, I will have to go and meet the government and have a discussion with them. We have to come to a table of agreements before I will do anything. And that is also affecting or slowing the developmental progress of the church in this place. And also because the place is open, and because it is a government institution, you could see cows and Fulanis coming here to shepherd their flocks here. And so it also constitutes a threat to some of the people who actually have phobia for seeing Fulani because of the banditry, the kidnapping, and the things that are accrued to Fulanis as a people.
The scripture should be the #1 priority. A Christian or a Catholic that does not read the Bible daily is missing a lot, just like our food. If you don't eat, you'll be malnourished. And so the scripture should be our primary book. It should be like a handbook. At least God has blessed us with our phones. We have a lot of applications, so Bible should be one of the applications in the phone. If you are complaining that the Bible is heavy to carry it handy, your phone is not too heavy. We can carry phones that are we use our 2 hands. So I think one of the basic ways that God continues to speak to us, He speaks to us in our situations, He speaks to us especially in the scriptures, apart from the priest. Our friends too can be an instrument through which God speaks to us.
I sincerely want to appeal to everyone who can render help to us. We want government to give us this land. They can cut a portion and dedicate it for church. Thank God there is a mosque here. They can give mosque a portion and the church a portion so that we can own this place. and will have opportunity to bring about physical and structural development around the church. And above all, we ask for your prayers. As for my parishioners, they are highly active and cooperative. I appreciate them. But above all, while you assist us, never stop praying for us, for our spiritual growth, for our well-being, and for help that will come from heaven through the ministry of men.